incredibly nervous because this is not what I do. So bear with me if I stumble or get nervous. Jackie and Andrew, however, aren't nervous, so we're going to be good there. When we were practicing running through the slides, Jackie nicely said to me, "Wow, that's a lot. Do you think we're going to have time to get through that?" And I'm like, "Oh God, no, probably not." So we'll go quick through some of these. So thank you, Steve, for that kind introduction. I am first and foremost a family member. I have 5 nieces and nephews who use regional center services, and that is where my passion and my drive in this field comes from. Andrew, in addition to his other claims to fame, my claim to fame is he is my nephew as well. So let's see, I've been in this field about 30 years, working from non-public school and residential placement for children with autism, to doing independent living and supported living services, to now doing community-based work services for folks. So our agenda, we're going to talk just briefly about employment first, CMS, self-determination, WIOA, and then the strategies for making this all work. And then Jackie and Andrew are going to share what it looks like when we get it right. So starting out with employment first and kind of looking at what's kind of shaping everything that we're doing right now. So employment first, it's been 2013, the state of California said that opportunities for integrated competitive employment should be given the highest priority for working age adults with developmental disabilities, regardless of the severity of their disability. And that's a really important policy statement. And it's 2017. I don't know that everybody's still even yet familiar with the employment first policy, and we need to do some more work around that. But basically it says that at anybody's IEPP meeting, if they're transitioning into school, transitioning into adult services, out of school, that this should be the first option offered. Not, do you want to go to a sheltered workshop, but competitive integrated employment should be the first option for people. CMS and HCBS, the Home and Community-Based Services, are people familiar with CMS, HCBS? All right, so we're like cruising through some information that's dense information really fast. So the final rule says that people with developmental and intellectual disabilities should have the same services and options for integrated full access as people who don't receive Medicaid services. So even in California, even though we have the Lanterman Act, we still receive a ton of federal funds to provide services and supports to individuals. And the federal government says that this is what those services should look like, that people should have opportunities for employment in competitive integrated settings, engage in community life, control personal resources to the same degrees that you or I do. Those are really strong words, very strong philosophical guidelines, and not necessarily where we are in California for sure. Self-determination, people familiar with self-determination? Awesome, not here yet, we're hoping, we're waiting. Someday soon, right, Lisa?
We hope.
We hope. We are hopeful. Lisa and I sit on a self-determination committee, so we're waiting with fingers crossed. So self-determination says that participants will have the opportunity to control, more strongly control all of their options and opportunities and how they use their resources to meet their needs. The 5 tenets, freedom, authority, support, responsibility, and confirmation are the 5 tenets of self-determination. Right now, California does not have an approved plan for our self-determination program yet. We are hoping soon. But it will take financial control and put that financial control out of the regional center and into the hands of individuals and their families. So hopefully that will help people get more integrated services as well. WIOA, people familiar with this, school people more familiar probably with WIOA than even I am. And boy, howdy, this could take like days to just talk about this, right? But basically it changes and says that VR services should direct resources and supports to community integrated employment, especially targeted to youth, because they're very acutely aware through research and studies that when people leave school without integrated options, they're much more likely to stay in segregated options. If they graduate and go into a workshop, they're much more likely to stay in a workshop than if they go into an integrated setting from the get-go. We've known this for years, and yet we continue the process of putting people into workshops. So hopefully with this, we are going to kind of cut that pipeline off and help people look at more integrated options. All right, so where are we now? So people in integrated competitive employment on average make $9.89 an hour. Supported employment programs groups, people make about $6.24 an hour. So wage gap there is apparent for folks if they're in competitive integrated employment. This middle section, this website is great and it has a lot of great information. And at each of these tabs will take you into more detailed analysis of the data. But yeah, we're not doing so good here in California. Even though we have employment first since 2013, even though we've got federal guidelines that say we need to be looking at employment and we need to be supporting community integrated work, only 4,373 people are in regular integrated jobs in the state of California, and that is abysmal. That is abysmal. 5,912 individuals are still working in small groups. Oftentimes, when people are in group placement, they're working below minimum wage. So again, that is not a great number. And then 69,636 individuals served in sheltered workshops or day services, probably many of those without any employment focus at all. Which again is not good. This number has skyrocketed as the numbers for integrated employment and group placement have stayed fairly level over the last 7 years or so. So basically this leaves us with a lot of opportunity, which is what we're here to talk about, right? So how do we get from those numbers to where we want to be for people that we serve and support, right? I believe that person-centered thinking is the way, that you have to look at each individual for who they are, what they want, and how we're going to support folks to get there, right? So person-centered thinking, a way to determine what a person wants in their life, identify the actions and supports that are going to make that a reality. Think about possibilities, not what currently is. I've attended way too many IEPs, IPPs, ISPs, IFSPs, all of those, where people said, oh, but we don't have that. We don't offer that. Oh, we don't know where you can find that, which is, to me and my family, not an acceptable answer, because we want to know what the possibilities are, not what's currently happening, right? We listen and we innovate. Person-centered thinking challenges us to balance what's important to the person and what's important for the person, and respecting personal values, preferences, talents, and abilities. It's taking the time to collect and document job matching information so that you can find a good fit. I think without person-centered thinking and planning tools, We continue to place people in high turnover, low paying jobs. That turnover, if we're constantly only looking for the job at Safeway or the job cleaning up at McDonald's, those kinds of things, those are your first jobs. Those aren't your forever jobs for most of us. And those are very difficult jobs to learn and maintain because your managers turn over every other week. The employees, your coworkers turn over. So person-centered thinking allows us some ways to get around those things. It also gets us away from only serving people who are the easiest to serve. Unfortunately, what we have done, I call it cream in the crop. We look at people who have the highest skills, the lowest support needs, and those are the 4,000 people who have jobs, are the people that need the least amount of supports and services, have the highest job skills. We want to serve everybody. I believe all people can work. I believe all people should work. I don't believe that work is an option unless you're, unless you're the Hilton family. Maybe then you can live on your trust fund, but otherwise people work. All right. So the way we do it, person-centered, keeping in mind, I think the strongest services and supports have to have a very strong philosophical base. They have to have a good values base. So dignity and respect, we presume competence, we presume equity, full integration, full inclusion, a meaningful life with valued social roles, and we do things individualized. So there's no group situation of what's going to work for these 25 people. It's what's going to work for this individual and this individual, and those may look very, very different. We use a process called discovery. We do it one person at a time. We're flexible, we're creative, we ask questions, we are very expectant, and then we teach. I believe we lost a lot of our teaching strategies and good strategies, I don't know, somewhere in the 90s, I think. They just dropped. The 80s we had them, the 90s they went away. Hopefully they're going to come back, and we're getting student teachers and our future leaders in adult services prepared to be better teachers. Basic elements of person-centered job development. We use a process called discovery. Discovery and customized employment, some of the gurus in that, Carrie Griffin and Dave Hammes, and Michael Callahan and Associates. If you're interested in more information in this area. So we use a discovery process, which is a person-centered job development process. It's capacity-driven, interviews with people who know the job seeker well, conversations with the job seeker, the family, friends, observations of the job seeker in typical activities of life, participating with the job seeker in typical targeted activities based on what we find out about the person, recording and reviewing. We do neighborhood mapping. I love this. It's like discovery allows you to see where the person is at their best. What are their complexities? What are their potential contributions? So it's a very different way of looking at employment. Discovery seeks to look at the individual, where they're at their best, what are their gifts and talents, where do they need support, and what does that support look like? And then it goes and does the same thing on the other side with employers. What do employers need? Not looking at, okay, Carl's Jr. needs somebody to clean up their lobby. That's the job description. That's what's on Craigslist. Let's go and apply for that job. That's not the kinds of jobs, by and large, that we're looking for. I have some folks that do that. That works for them. That's probably their first job. It won't be their forever job. That works. For the vast majority of the people that I serve, they will never get a job that way. So this way allows us to go into employers, look and work with employers about what are the tasks that they need to run their business well, and how do we match that with an employment seeker that we know well because we spent time figuring out who they were. You end up with a vocational profile of the person with their key interest, the themes that are important in their life, preferred situations and activities, situations that people would want to avoid. You can find out the ideal conditions of employment. And if I were to talk to many of you, you have done this for yourself over the years, or you know when you didn't do it, when you didn't find your ideal conditions of employment and how poor those jobs were compared to the jobs where they did match better your ideal conditions of employment, right? Where is the person at their best? What routines work? And where and when do they need the most support? From there, once we've found the match based on knowing the person well, knowing the employment situation well, we use systematic instruction to make sure that people are able to do the job. Who's familiar with Mark Gold? Oh, break my heart. So Mark Gold was an innovator in the 70s who said, one of his quotes was that failure of somebody to be able to do a job was not a failure for the learner, it was a failure for the teacher. And so I take that to heart, and it's both liberating and terrifying at the same time, that if a person you're working with is not learning, it's not their fault. It's not that they're incapable of learning, it's that you don't have sufficient strategies and power behind those strategies to teach, which is great because as a teacher, we can always figure out another way to teach, right? As a teacher, it's like, oh God, onus is on me, right, to figure that out. So systematic instruction, the components of systematic instruction, task analysis, timing of instruction, try another way is what Mark Gold, the system that he talks about, and it's wonderful. I think I have the resource listed at the back of the presentation, but you can find it on the Minnesota Developmental Disabilities website, I believe it is, has all of his videos. All right. So what happens when you use a systematic way of teaching, when you are person-centered about your planning, when you work with employers and look at the jobs and tasks that they have in a systematic way and match those well? You have services that are 100% in the community. 63% of the individuals that we work with are in paid integrated work. 16% are in post-secondary ed. 24% of the individuals we serve have microenterprise businesses. 60% volunteer and do community exploration. Average wages are $10 to $19.73 per hour, and these are a couple years old, these stats. And taxes paid in 2016 were $33,000. So when we do it right, these are the outcomes of the services that we provide. When we don't do it right, people are in sheltered, segregated services making sub-minimum wage. And I want to go back to something that Steve said. We do have a zero exclusion policy. So I do really want to, if you're sitting there thinking in your head, because I've been there and I talk to people, oh, but not my daughter. Oh, but not this guy I work with. He couldn't do that. I'm talking about that guy, and I'm talking about that daughter. We serve anybody who wants our services, regardless of the challenges that presents, regardless of the support that those folks need. So some of the folks that we work with have intermittent support. They might have initial support, and then we fade that support. Other folks have ongoing on-site support for a variety of reasons. So Jackie's going to tell you a little bit about herself and her journey and where she's come to now.
Hi, I'm Jackie Armstrong, and I'm here today to tell you a bit about my experiences in the working world. I'm 31 years old, and I live independently with support in Roseville, California. I have a plethora of friends and have an active life filled with social activities, taekwondo, dates, and smut activities, but more on that later. I was born with a rare metabolic condition that has no name that causes severe episodic metabolic acidosis. These episodes have been life-threatening in the past and present, and as a child caused some changes in my brain wiring. I've had multiple diagnoses: Asperger's, nonverbal learning disability, ADHD, dyspraxia, PDD-NOS, cognitive disorder, NOS. Really, what I have depends on the doctor. Although I have a disability, I also have many gifts. I can write speeches, and I love to read, and I have an encyclopedia in my head for trivia, anything geek-related, love Walking Dead, and I love new things on the computer. When I was in second grade, my parents fought for me to be in full inclusion classes with a regular but slightly modified education. It was a long and drawn-out process, but they won. I spent most of my education included in regular classes. It helped me learn to be socially more like other people, and I had friends. When I left the school system, I entered community college. There was a lot of support for me to succeed. I also wanted to get a job. I was told the only option was to go to a sheltered workshop. I declined. So in 2005, a family friend offered me a part-time job. I was collating for a small office, and I fell in love with the office environment. However, it was short-lived, as I worked for only a year until the office closed. Then, in 2006, I applied for a job as a rec aide at an after-school program for adolescents with disabilities, a program I had once attended. I eventually gained confidence and moved out on my own and began to live independently with support. I worked there until 2009, when the program closed after the economic downturn of 2008. This time, I took the offer to go to the workshop. It was either that or leave my beloved apartment behind. Let me say that there were and are wonderful people within the workshop, some of which I still speak to today. It's not their fault. It's not them, but the concept of a sheltered workshop as a whole that is extremely backwards. In another way of saying, I am constantly being told I see the trees instead, the forest. And I'm not upset at the trees for working for the backwards forest. I'm upset that the backwards forest exists at all and pays some minimum wage. At first, I worked in an area known as Sunsuite on the main floor. For $5 an hour, I was on a production line putting bags of prunes in a box. I also checked my partner's box to see that they counted correctly, a sort of pseudo-supervisor. Eventually, I was bumped up and promoted to a job in electronics manufacturing, but there was no increase in pay. So my job increased in complexity and doubled the responsibility, but there was no increase in pay whatsoever. I tried the off-site program where you work in a regular company with a small group of other people with disabilities, with a job coach that's employed by the workshop. I was shocked and appalled to be told at lunchtime I was not allowed to socialize with the non-disabled people that were working at the company. In 2012, I reached the highest achievement you could get at the workshop, minimum wage. There was no possibility to go up beyond that as a client at the workshop. I had already hit my ceiling. In 2016, I graduated community college. People started asking me, "So what are you going to do now, Jackie?" as they often do to college graduates. And somehow saying, "Stay at the workshop forever," didn't exactly cut it. I wanted to move on. To be honest, I wanted very badly to leave and move on, but I couldn't do it by myself. And My mom was fearful I would be bullied on the outside, as I called it. And I was segregated in not just work, but in other environments, Special Olympics, day programs. The only thing I had was college, and that had ended. In January 2016, I quit Special Olympics and joined a Taekwondo gym. I was with regular people without disabilities, and to my shock, I was included, and my gifts were celebrated, and aspects of my disability, the low muscle tone, dyspraxia, was modified as needed. But even with modification, I was expected to do what everybody else in my program did. I also joined in with the camaraderie and the "you go, girl" that often comes with being at a family-owned karate studio. Suddenly I had friends, and there was no bullying, nothing. I began to realize that, like my parents, fighting for me to be in regular education in school in 1993, I would have to fight to be included in society. Only this time, it was not my parents, but me taking the boxing gloves and fighting for the right to be included in my everyday community. I fought to get a job outside of the workshop. My option, I was told, was to go with Department of Rehab and do a 2-week assessment at a retail store or a restaurant. I already knew this from friends' experience. If the Department of Rehab decides you require too much support, they would close your case and you would stay at the workshop indefinitely. I call this the endless loop. Things need to get better. Not to mention, I didn't really want to do retail or wash dishes. I wanted an office job. So then I found out that a long time ago, my mom had put me on a waiting list for Progressive Employment Concepts, and my name was up. And once I said I was willing to risk being in the outside, my parents were on board and supported me. So I had a meeting with Carol, and I said, I'm ready to move on. I started PEC in October 2016. I started by telling my job coach, I don't want a job, I want a career. We started the discovery process, and we met twice a week and discussed disability, strengths, possible jobs I didn't want to do, hobbies, friends. I also went to PEC and practiced data entry and scanning on the computer. Now, my discovery was supposed to last a lot longer, but 3 weeks into the discovery process, I got the offer of a lifetime. I was offered the chance to intern at SMUD for a job scanning documents. Oh, I took that offer. Yeah. My job coach was with me 100% at first as I learned the job and the various tasks of the job. I learned how to dress, how to act in an office, and how to talk. I did not have many office clothes, so my job coach was also my personal shopper. She also helped me navigate working and being able to keep my Social Security benefits. Very delicate topic. Going from the workshop to SMUD was like going from a mud hut to the Hilton. And because I was still at the workshop at the same time I was interning, it became a lot more difficult to get motivated to wake up and go. Because so I was told that I had lost my job in the electronics manufacturing department and that my minimum wage, my coveted minimum wage position had been bumped down to a main floor position for $7 an hour while I was interning at SMUD. That was the day I quit. So my internship went into December and extended to January. My job coach also began to fade out as I became more independent and confident. Then we played the waiting game to see if I would be hired. And in February of 2017, I was hired! I got my own cubicle with my name on it. And that's my first day being there in the hard hat. Hard hat's not required to do office job. That was just I got my own cubicle with my name on it, and my wage, I must say, is much higher than minimum wage, almost 4 times what I started at when I started at the workshop. Every day I go to work and I'm greeted by smiling people. My disability goes away and I become Jackie the scanner for Power Gen, just as at Taekwondo I became Jackie the white belt, now recommended black belt. I have gotten to know my coworkers on a personal level, and they all collectively have taken me under their wing. My coworker and mentor, Andrea, has taken it upon herself to get to know my learning style and noticed that I was very detail-oriented. And with every new job that comes through, she modifies a task sheet that is very specific to my learning profile. And it is very elaborate, and I'm extremely successful with it. And it's to the point where I only have drop-in services now with my job coach. Best part is, everyone in my department is a Marvel movie geek just like me. My coworker have wonderful senses of humor, and I'm becoming more of myself every day while still staying professional, of course. My confidence soared as I became more used to the outside I found myself working within. For starters, I joined Weight Watchers and lost 30 pounds and counting. I cut out, thank you. I cut out all the negative people in my life and have developed new friends that appreciate me and strengthened the friends that I kept. I have a wonderful boyfriend and I go out on dates and I keep my standards for him high. I love when people ask what I do and telling them, I work at SMUD. SMUD offers tons of incentives like bingo, picnics, weekend tickets to Discovery Kingdom, and River Cats games. This gives me an opportunity to get to know my coworkers better, as well as people from different departments. The most major change has been, I see myself as a mature woman in the world. The outside is now just the outside for me. I will leave you all with this story. 3 months ago, I did something I never thought I would do in my whole adult life. I took my parents out to breakfast, and I paid the whole bill and tip. It was one of the best feelings in the world.
And I really appreciate all the things she said about all of the things that change when you have a real job with respect. It's not just about the paycheck, and it's not just about the work and the task that you do. It's about the changes in how you see yourself and how others see you as well, which is huge.
College students and professionals with disabilities. Andrew Foyle's Supported Life Institute.
Me and you want my book is like a bowl and green and dirt and mop and milk and the you might like it, my dog. You like it.
Andrew uses a phone app to help him do all the steps of his job correctly.
Okay. Yeah. Alright. Is it happening?
Clock in using the code on this app or in your phone notepad.
The light and do the light too.
Turn on all the lights in both stations, in the kitchen and by the bathrooms. Fill the mop bucket up about halfway with clean water and then bring it to the lobby. Get the yellow duster and Swiffer from the office and bring them to Use the yellow duster to dust off all of the frames. Make sure to get up top.
Next.
spray, orange spray, and pink spray. Fill them up if they are low. Match the pink sticker on the wall to the pink sticker on the bottle. Same with the blue sticker on the wall to the blue sticker on the bottle. Remember, if it's not spraying, try and screw in the cap into the bottles.
How does your support facilitator help you?
It helped me that phone, that helped me bank money and my check.
Andrew's volunteer work.
Put the bank and the help and the bubble and the help and food and hall.
Transportation to work.
Bubble and the map and act. And then the map and the rubber and more. All of it.
Andrew's phone app is called My Pictures Talk Video Modeling Tool. The app can be used on iPhones and iPads. The current price is $2.99. College students and professionals with disabilities was funded by a grant from the California State Council on Developmental Disabilities, Sacramento office.
You meet Andrew and my friend and Barry and Church and I forgot.
Movies?
Booby about my God.
And you moved out last year,
Yep.
right?
We're gonna go.
All right. So let's see, tell us about, did you have any jobs before Buka?
The Becca and about Bamoom.
You did the bathroom.
Yep. And Jose.
So what did you do before you worked at Buka? Did you work at other places?
Yes.
Where'd you work?
Oh, and
Fliptastic.
yeah, that's it.
Fliptastic
And I did it on.
and Dita Salon, right?
Mhm.
And you volunteer.
Mhm.
You volunteer at some different places, right?
Yep.
So where do you volunteer?
We're there and come back. I'm gonna see. And that one.
Touch of Understanding?
Yeah.
Yep. That's where you go. Andrew, you really like kids, right?
Yes.
So mustard seed. So one of the themes in Discovery that we found out about Andrew was that Andrew loves kids and he's really, really great with kids.
Mm-hmm.
He's very much a rule follower.
I don't want to fall to hurt.
You don't want him to fall and get hurt, for sure. So, Andrew, but he's also very kind about letting them know the rules and how to follow the rules, right? So, Andrew got a job at Mustard Seed, a volunteer job at Mustard Seed, and you help on the playground.
Yes.
And then also at A Touch of Understanding, telling them about your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you had worked at Fliptastic.
Yep. That's it. Here. About camp. Ooh.
You didn't like it when camp was in session.
Yeah.
Because all the rules changed about your job during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So Andrew likes routine. So that was another thing we knew about Andrew. And at Fliptastic, his routine changed every summer when the kids were there for camp. He couldn't
cool.
you couldn't do your things at the same time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you didn't like that. And you'd done it for 7 years.
Yeah. That did it a day ago.
So time to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where'd you find a job?
About did it long.
Oh, yeah, you worked at Adidas.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you left there, 'cause you got a job where?
Yeah. Baga. Babo.
Buca de Beppo. Yep. And they saw some video of you working there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do there?
In the banana bush and the desk and Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday, yeah.
Monday.
And Monday.
Mhm.
That's when you work right now.
Yeah.
During the holidays, you work more, right?
Yep.
You work like 5 days.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. And you take Uber.
Mm-hmm.
That was a new thing.
A lot of money.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money. Right? But your case manager's hoping to get you a taxi now, right? Mm-hmm. For on Saturdays.
On a Saturday.
Yeah, so that'll be cheaper.
Okay.
Perfect, yep. All right. And so I won't show you this video because you saw it in the video of his app, but one of the other things we learned about Andrew through Discovery was that Andrew doesn't like to be wrong, and he doesn't like to do things wrong. He likes to do them the right way the first time, and you don't like people like correcting you, huh? No, I don't like that either.
Yeah.
And Andrew doesn't like things that make him stand out, and people think that he doesn't know what he's doing. So you don't read real well, right?
Nope.
No, not too. No,
Not bad.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So we knew Andrew needed some lists to follow, and we knew you might need some pictures on that list,
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
right? And so first we tried to remember at Dita's, we made the cards,
Oh, yeah.
with the pictures.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, did you like those?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Did you leave them at home all the time?
Yeah.
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 So the other thing we learned was that that didn't work for Andrew because that was stigmatizing. He didn't like that. He didn't like having this thing that made him stand out different than anybody else. Andrew's a tech guy. He likes computers. He likes his iPhone, his iPad. So we found his app, My Picks, and we put all of his tasks in there. Andrew's also very visual in the way he learns. So this was a great app for him. And it meant that your job coach could get out of your way, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to fall.
You don't want them there, and they're not wearing the right shoes. They might fall, right? So you had a job coach when you first started your job at Buca. Sam, right?
Yeah, Sam.
Sam.
Bring it back here.
And then, now she's back again. But she does she come to work with you every day now?
Yes.
Every day?
Yes.
Or does she used to come to every day?
Yeah.
Well, she picks you up some days.
Yeah, they did.
But are you at work? You're just at work on your own now, right? You don't have anybody there with you because he's got his app. That Andrew he was worried about using his app at his first job at Dita's because you're not supposed to have your phone out at work. Andrew's a rule follower, so we had to talk to Michelle back at Dita's, right?
Yeah.
And tell her about your phone app. And then she said it was all right, right? And at Buca, they think it's great, right?
Yeah.
So Andrew has all of his tasks listed out there with whatever verbal prompts. There's also, you can embed video into each of the steps too. So if somebody needed a more broken down task analysis of the steps, they could do that in there as well. And it's really assisted Andrew in being a lot more independent.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also uses it, he also uses his phone as a communication tool when somebody doesn't understand him. So I remember one time, Andrew, at Dita's, the toilet was broken or something, or it wasn't flushing, and you went and told Michelle,
Yes.
but she wasn't understanding you. And so Andrew took his phone back, took a picture of the toilet, walked back up to Michelle, showed her, and she's like, oh.
Yeah, math.
It was a mess. But then she knew.
I know, it
Right.
did.
So Andrew took the adaptation that he had been using with his technology and extended it to also use that for a communication aid. So this is just the information about his pick. So why did you want to have a job? What did you want to do with?
Well, yes. Disneyland.
Disneyland. Yep. So you've been saving up money for Disneyland since you got your job, back in November, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've been saving.
Yep.
And when are you going to Disneyland?
My birthday.
And your birthday in
Yep.
September, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And are you going with your mom?
No.
No. Oh.
No way. No, only make it fit.
Andrew's sister is a little bit younger, a little bit wilder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're not going with your mom. Who are you going with?
Sam.
With your friend Sam, and who else?
About Sarah.
And her friend Sarah,
About parent.
and her mom, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and her sister. Yeah. So you guys are going down there. So that'll be your first time going on a vacation
Mm-hmm.
without your family, huh?
Yep.
Just leaving us in the dust. And what else did you do? What else were you able to do because you make money now?
Well, I need to save money.
You're saving
And I
money.
want to freezy boo.
To do what?
Boo. Eat.
To the pool?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, food, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you buy your food.
Mhm.
Because do you live at home with your mom anymore?
Nope.
Nope. Where do you live?
I'm about here.
You live where?
Yeah.
Who do you live with?
About Nick, Sarah.
With Nick and Kevin
Mm-hmm.
in an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
You moved out in October, right?
Yep.
And that's the first time you've lived on your own, right?
Yep.
Do you have any support people that live with you, or do you just have somebody that comes and helps every now and again?
I got it though.
What about Sue Ann?
Oh yeah, Joanne.
Sue Ann, does she live with you, or does she just come?
No.
When does she come? Tuesday?
Baby, yeah.
And Wednesday?
Yeah.
And Thursday?
Yeah.
And what does she help you do?
Um,
What do you guys do?
well, but my bad.
You go to the bank,
Mm-hmm.
and do you cook?
Yep.
And grocery shop?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you do anything on your own now? Do you like ride your bike
Mm-hmm.
up to Target
Mm-hmm.
and over to Walmart,
Mm-hmm. Walk.
and you go for walks? Yep. You go work out at the gym at your apartment?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Excellent. That's all because you have a job, right?
Yep.
Wouldn't have the money otherwise, right? 'Cause
Yep.
It's hard living on your
I
own,
know.
right?
I know.
You gotta save money,
Mm-hmm.
buy food.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have to do that when you lived at home with mom, huh?
No.
No, had lots of money when you lived with mom. Now you gotta save it.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, just to make it fit. How you?
That's why you wanted to move out. Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't want to live with all those little sisters. Andrew wasn't going to be somebody that was going to go in and sit down at an interview with an employer and present himself and all of his competence in a traditional sense. So we needed other ways to show employers what Andrew could do. So you did your PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
That had some videos of you working in it and pictures of all of the things that you did, right?
Yeah. That.
And you took that to Buca de Beppo, right?
Yeah.
And you showed them your PowerPoint on your iPad, right?
Yes.
Instead of having a traditional type of interview.
Mm-hmm.
And then they could see that you could do all the jobs that they needed done, right? All right. Thanks, Andrew. Wanted to talk just briefly about a couple opportunities that are also assisting people in finding employment. One of them, Jackie talked briefly about. California, the legislature last year and then this year, passed a couple trailer bills that give people the opportunity. One of them is called a paid internship program, and the other one is called customized integrated employment incentives. The paid internship program this year was also extended to kids 18 to 22. And what that does is it offers $10,400 a year to pay an individual's salary. So for example, if an employer was interested in hiring somebody, but they weren't sure if they could do the job, they weren't sure what adaptations might be needed, they could do an internship for a period of time to be agreed upon by the job seeker and the employer, up to $10,400 to pay the individual salary as well as the employer's employment cost. So their workers' comp, their FICA, all of those things. So it allows individuals to get their foot in the door in a non-traditional way. Kind of a non-traditional. If you're a student in college, you've probably done an internship or a practicum, and you probably didn't get paid for it either. And the CIE incentives were to incentivize assisting people in finding competitive integrated employment. So any provider can apply to receive those funds. So if I, as a provider, help somebody find that type of job, I can apply for those funds. There are 3 milestones at, I think it's 30 days, 6 months, and a year if the person maintains the job. So it also incentivized us as providers to find integrated work and to find work that was actually going to match for people so that they stayed employed long-term. So those are some great opportunities, and if it's CIE, Competitive Integrated Employment Incentives. It was funded through the state. The regional centers hold the money. So I guess for us as an agency, hiring and keeping and training quality staff is probably the number one issue that we face. The wages are not great. Close your ears, Georgina, but Jackie makes more than my job coaches that support her. Yes, they're very proud of it, and they love working with people, not paper, so it's good. But that is a very difficult. I think the other thing is that job coaches, unlike say a teacher, don't carry the esteem of the position, and that's another thing that we battle. So I think looking for ways that we can help job coaches and support professionals be seen as professionals, and providing those trainings and competency-based trainings for them that make it a professional position are important.
What is the average length of time on Progressive Employment Concepts waitlist, and what other programs like your that have similar services to what you do?
Waitlist is embarrassingly long. Embarrassingly long. One of the reasons our wait list is long is that we started out serving 15 people. We wanted to serve 30. We serve about 105 right now. So overshot our goal by quite a lot. And maintaining quality and individualized services is really important to us. So we don't want to just grow exponentially. So we have about, I think the last person that we took off our waiting list had been on there about 3 years. Other services, there are a couple other agencies working on customized employment. There are several agencies that do supported employment through Department of Rehab. So there's only a couple other in the Sacramento area that do customized employment. Some regional centers in Southern California are actually funding customized employment more, and there are a lot more providers there that are doing it. We just held a training last week to train, and we opened it up to other providers to send their job developers to a training that we were having on customized employment and discovery.
I believe that Carol's program is the only one in our local region that only does customized employment. There's In Alliance also does do that, but they also have the group employment. So we're trying to expand that. I do have to say that in our region, we are very fortunate to have much more services than the Fairfield area, Stockton area. So we're actually very blessed in this area to have the services that we do.
There are a couple providers in the Bay Area I know that do customized employment. I know WorkLink, and that's Transcend and WorkLink, and
East Bay Innovation.
East Bay Innovations, thank you. Yes, Tom Hines. Yep.
The next question is, what's the process to enroll in Progressive Employment Concepts? Is there a fee for services? And is there an age minimum?
So our services we're vendored through the Department of Rehabilitation as well as the Regional Center. We do most of our work with Regional Center folks. Let's see. There's no fee to the individuals that we serve. That's all funded through the Regional Center, and there's no fee to employers to utilize our services either. And minimum age, the Regional Center funds services for individuals once they are no longer eligible for the school system, which for people who graduate with a diploma is whatever age that is, 18, 19. For other folks, it's when they age out of school at 22. Although there is some movement on that in that for the paid internship programs, they are opening it a little more for services to be funded for those kids needing job coaching along with that paid internship option.
I think this is one of my favorite questions. How early can a parent start the process to prepare their child for paid integrated work?
Preschool. Preschool. One of my dreams is to have a panel of individuals that would go and talk with families of preschoolers about the importance of having the same expectations for your kids, that they're going to do chores, that they're going to get an allowance, that they're not going to get all those videos that they want without doing something for them, right? I think that is a really critical piece, just holding kids to the same standards you're going to hold your other kids to. Obviously, adapt when needed, but have that expectation and set up that expectation that they're going to work, that's your expectation for them and your desire for them in preschool.
Can you also talk about the possibility of parents starting to use visual schedules and other kinds of things that will?
Yeah, there's wonderful strategies out there. A lot of the stuff that we use, that Andrew uses, that Jackie uses, that her employer now is even adapting job tasks based on knowing, which is not, you might think, oh, that's a lot of work for the employer.
It wasn't.
No, and employers do it all the time. They do it for all kinds of different things. They do it for the employee who doesn't have a car, that doesn't get to work on time reliably. They do it for the employee who comes to work who just broke up with her boyfriend last night and can't work the front register today because she's a mess and keeps crying, right? They let her work in the back. I mean, employers do it all the time. So adapting stuff for folks is not asking employers to do something astronomical. We use whatever strategies work for people. So visual schedules, we use tech, high tech, low tech, whether that's a paper. Didn't work for Andrew, he likes the high tech, so we went with that, which challenged my job coaches. Now Andrew knows how to use it and can teach us.
Yeah, starting those visual kinds of schedules early with a child is so freeing for them, and it's setting a pattern that they can direct themselves and not get into a rut of being prompted. And so for families, doing that early is such a gift for everybody, for you as well as the parents.
I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and my parents taught us all to strive for greatness, so I really wanted to be just like my siblings, so.
And you are. Maybe better.
The next question, what is the process or how do you get employers involved in this process? Meaning, do you have to recruit businesses? Do you have connections you already use?
Well, since everything is individualized, we don't have like a bank of employers that hire all the people that we serve. That well, SMUD, we have 4 folks that work at SMUD, but SMUD has 2,000 employees, and none of the people that we work with work in the same department, or in the same building, or in the same campus location. So yeah, so they're kind of all spread out. Tell me again. Oh, employers. So we work with all individualizing with employers. We're going to go to an employer and talk to them about that individual's gifts and talents. We're also going to talk to them about what their needs are. So we help employers look at the task that they need to have done versus a job description that they have, and work with them in meeting those needs, whether they're a full job description or not. I will tell you that we work mostly with small business. Small business is innovative. Large business has a lot of corporate structure that they have trouble getting around. And the majority of employers, unfortunately, I think in this field of job developing for people with disabilities, we look for food, flowers, and fill, and we look for jobs at big box stores. And those are the most difficult. They're the highest in turnover. They're the least adaptable, but that's just what we've known to do. And small business makes up 80-something, 85% of the businesses in California. So that's really where we should be looking, not at the Walgreens and the Targets and those. So adapting, individualizing one person at a time, and building relationships. It's really all about relationships. We build relationships with the folks that we support. We build relationships with the employers.
How does your organization help young adults with much more severe cognitive development needs, nonverbal, severe mobility issues, reflex issues?
The same way we do anybody else. We're just going to take that person where they're at and work with them to support them in doing what they want to do. I have a gentleman that I've worked with for 17 years. His case manager called me, and what she said was, well, I have a gentleman that is interested in your services, but I want to make sure he's appropriate for your services. And I said, oh yeah, he is. And she said, no, let me tell you about it. And she told me he's in a wheelchair and he needs physical assistance and personal attendant services. He has no voluntary movement below the neck. He doesn't speak. He doesn't have a completely reliable communication system, and he wants to work. And I said, yeah, I told you he's appropriate. So that gentleman has done a variety of things. He's gone to school. He had his own small business for a bit, and now he has a volunteer, a 4-day-a-week volunteer position with the city of Citrus Heights. And he does mall security as a volunteer police person. His interest is in criminal justice. That's what he went and took at community college. And yeah, this week he started being able to write tickets for people parked in the accessible parking spots, which is near and dear to his heart when he can't get out of his van. So it's perfectly in line with what he wants to do. We work with a gentleman who has a label of autism, is nonverbal, really big guy, is not interested in sitting for more than about 30 seconds at a time, needs to be moving and going. The job that he does several volunteer things. He also works out and goes to the gym and those things, but his job was working at a basketball court facility where he swept and mopped the basketball courts, because he also carries around a basketball almost everywhere with him, pounding on it, so that was his dream place to be.
Will self,
Can I tell?
oh,
can I-
please.
Communication is another thing that we work a lot on. So we work with a lot of folks who have communication devices. We work collaboratively with CTEC, which is here in Sacramento. And because we have individualized services, we can really collaborate with them and support people's communication needs, whether those are high-tech, low-tech, whether those are figuring out a yes or no, whether those are, typing completely independently, so anywhere.
Will self-determination services mean that service providers will be hired directly by consumers and not be regional center vendored? For example, could someone select a service or therapy not authorized or vendored by the regional center?
Yes, self-determination will mean yes, they can. They can also choose providers that are vendorized, but they can choose services and supports from anybody in the community.
Just a word of caution about self-determination services is that you will have to pay for the financial management services out of your budget, which will probably reduce the budget that you are currently spending by, they're thinking 10, 15%. So just something to be aware of. The other question on this is there funding or subsidies available for businesses and employers to hire and train people with disabilities? How do employers get these?
So I've done employment services for 25 years, and we used to sell employers on, you can get the work incentive tax credits and, those kinds of things. And many of our small businesses weren't interested. Frankly, they didn't want the government involved. They didn't want to do any more paperwork, even though it was a little bit of paperwork and we offered to do it. They didn't want people involved. Your large corporations already do it, the work opportunity tax credits, because they do it for anybody, because there's a large number of people that qualify for that. If people have been on public assistance, if they have received Social Security for any reason. So those employers do that. We found it not to be necessary, and we also found it to be in some ways telling employers that we're giving them somebody that's not really qualified, and so they need to get something out of it, which is not the message that we want to send. We aren't in this for charity, to get somebody a job for a charitable purpose. We're in this to get somebody a job who has the skills to do the job, and an employer to get an employee that has the skills. So it's a win-win. We're not looking for charity. The things that have been helpful, the paid internship program is helpful in getting people's feet in the door. When an employer can't see what somebody can do through a typical interview, or when they're looking at restructuring some duties to make them work better for people, the paid internship things have helped. Job coaching helps because people feel like they have somebody to ask questions to if they don't know how to do something, don't know how to adapt something, don't know, a good communication strategy. So other than that, we haven't really used much with our employers.
Does PEC work in job development without a specific job goal? Person-centered planning. Does person-centered planning work in job development without a specific job goal? Does that process work?
So we never go into the initial discovery process with somebody with a specific job in mind. Discovery guides that process to the job. And it may not be a job that you ever even thought about before. So that discovery process guides that direction. You can also obviously use the person-centered planning process for anything in somebody's life. And it is I think, a indispensable tool for any kind of transition planning, any kind of planning for an individual's life. We use it as an agency for planning, strategic planning.
Question for Jackie.
Yeah.
Where did you do Taekwondo?
Studio Martial Arts in Granite Bay.
Yes, go there if you're in Granite Bay. They're awesome.
Their office here, College in Douglas, Master Perari. I'll be showing her this video later.
Yeah, you plugged her, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Are there any more cards? And I specifically would appreciate any questions that we have for either Andrew or Jackie. Any, and actually at this point, I would feel fine about just, if you raise your hand, I can bring you.
Hi, Teresa.
What classes, what supports did you have in school, in education? Because I see a disconnect between education and this. What did you find helpful in education that prepared you for having your job now?
So I started my education in a very, very large, I started my education in a very large campus, and I found myself a very small speck in a very large lake, and I didn't fit in well. Socially, I was very different a decade ago than, say, I am now, and so I was actually persecuted by like various security guards who thought I had a mental health disability, and so I actually transferred to a very small college that had a smaller class size, smaller student size. And in both college situations, I immediately got in with both disabled student program and services, and it's a completely different process than what you would see in the school system. It's like night and day different, but there are accommodations. The only thing that's different, I'd say the biggest difference in terms of accommodation for college is that they don't modify the coursework. They don't modify the coursework like at all. You learn the same material as everybody else. Your tests are longer, maybe. You might be testing in a small room. You might have a note taker. You might have a tape recorder, but you're learning the same material as everyone else. They do have adaptive PE classes, as well as depending on what college you have, what college you're going to, they also have remedial classes. It just depends. But I got my degree in arts and culture, and I went out of college wanting a job at a library, but extended it to getting a job at an office. I just figured that getting the degree would just go great on the resume. I didn't see it as anything else, but I did. So to answer your question, I didn't have a specific job focus within my college.
Andrew, did you have any experiences in high school that you thought helped you be successful in work as an adult?
Yeah. In my school, in the class, yeah. And school, and about better that, and let's see,
It was a while ago when you were in
yeah,
high school, huh?
yeah.
You really enjoyed the computer classes.
Mm-hmm.
you were fully included in high school, right?
Mhm.
So you went to regular classes,
Yes.
and then you had some resource class where they helped you with some of your schoolwork
Yes.
that you enjoyed. I remember band a lot,
Yeah.
and you ended up even helping out in the band, being a TA for the band,
Mhm.
and then your computer classes that helped you a lot.
And Andrew, did you have an internship in high school?
Yes.
I believe that we've talked in the past and that you had been working, I think, at a hotel or something. I can't remember.
You did workability,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And you worked at a hotel.
Mhm.
Another question?
Oh, can I just say that one of the downfalls, I think, in school systems or that don't help people be prepared for employment, workability, while it's great, the intent of workability, working 1 hour a week doesn't prepare somebody for the reality of work. That like it's hard and you don't get a break after an hour, that you work 4 hours before you get a break, and
Or
those
2.5.
kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
There's much higher expectations in real work. Whether it's modified or not, whether it's customized or not, there's still a lot more expectation, and so that's hard. People come out thinking they've had a lot of experience and they've had limited experience, so.
I just wanted to mention CTEC again, that you brought up. The support for communication is so critical, and it translates into every area of adult life. So it was nice, Andrew, to see how you demonstrated that in your job and the importance of having, just using all the resources for communication. And with my daughter, it has really helped in, also in obtaining medical services. She had a stroke, and she had been a part of CTEC, and no therapist sort of knew where to work with her to start her rehabilitation from it. And yet we had the videos that she had made so they could see where her language was before and after. So utilizing those resources for communication is, it makes a huge difference in getting, don't you think, Andrew?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it really helps, yeah.
Andrew has actually Prolo-Q to go on his phone as well, because his sister doesn't speak at all, and so she used that. So Andrew's like, oh, hey, this is helpful.
Yeah.
I'm a parent and just excited to see that both of you have moved to apartments. So could
Yes.
you tell us some of the most exciting parts or challenging parts of making that transition from home to an apartment?
Well, Nick, Sabe,
Nick and Kevin,
yeah,
your roommates,
in a moment.
what have you done that's exciting?
I don't know.
What'd you do the first week that you guys lived in your apartment, and then you found out that you weren't supposed to do that? Do you remember when you
Yeah.
went to the pool?
Uh-huh.
Remember when you went to
Oh
the
yeah, yeah, please.
You went to the, it wasn't exactly the police.
Yeah.
Just, you went, you
No, no,
guys
no,
went
no,
swimming.
me. And oh.
The security came,
came.
because it was after 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So real life experiences are good, right?
Yeah.
So I actually, once again, a decade ago, my skills were very different than what you see now. I started something called supported living, and I was in 24-hour care across the board. And as I developed more independent living skills, it started to back up, similar to how my job coaching has backed up. I still, because of the metabolic disorder I was born with, will always have like a set number of hours, and I will always get 24-hour when I get the flu, because that keeps me medically safe. But I'm as independent as I've ever been, probably within the past 2 years. Yeah.
I can say, just speaking
My job coach wants to say something.
From Andrew, from a family
Okay.
perspective, with Andrew led a very sheltered life. Andrew's mom is not as progressive as I am in what people should be able to do. Love her to death, but she's like we all are as parents, protective, and Andrew's done. I thought he needed supported living. I thought he needed 24-hour support. And when they said he could only have ILS, I was like ready to fight. And, I said, okay, I'm going to work 5 days a week, every afternoon. He needs somebody there. They gave me that. And pretty soon Andrew was like, oh, nah, come later. How about not on Monday? How about just Tuesday? How about Wednesday? So, and his independence has skyrocketed. Like, he does things that we're like, where did he learn that? Who taught him that? I don't know. And he does things now. He rides his bike up to Target, and he just tells his mom when he's gotten back from Target. Because otherwise she would say, no, I'll run over and take you. I'll take you. You don't need to ride your bike up there. So, and before that, literally, when he lived at home, he had walked to the store,
Walmart.
like around 3 blocks from his house twice in his life. That's it. So, big difference.
Yeah.
What did you want to say, Georgina?
Well, it was sort of 2 questions. I wasn't sure if you already said this. Andrew, do you use your phone app that you use at work? Do you use it for anything at your home?
Oh, really?
Do you use your MyPics for stuff at home?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so. I think you guys talked about using it for cooking something.
Yeah, the cook.
But
and
the-
the mail.
But then you just learned how to do it, and you didn't need it, so.
And for Jackie, how do you get around for transportation?
Oh, yes, there is that. So, I have my own car. So my special needs trust pays the insurance. I personally pay gas, and then my support staff drives it. So how I get to work is my support staff drops me off in my car and then drives it home, and picks me up the same way. And it's just like because I live in an area that is not very reliable in terms of bus systems. So it kind of works out. Not to mention my family is kind of terrified of me being a single woman riding a bus. So, yeah.
And like Andrew said, Uber is expensive.
Yes, yes.
So we are at 12 o'clock. I'd like to close this up with just a quick comment. As Carol referenced in the beginning of her slideshow, there's the ACBS, CMS changes that are coming to our services that are requiring that people who are both developmental disabilities, mental health issues, and people who are elderly. It applies to across the board if you receive the Medicare services. There's a lot of concern that I hear within the community about what's going to happen. What will these services look like? Will people be able to really access these services? Will they serve the full range of people with disabilities? I have to say, I've seen Carol's operation up close. I know many of the people she serves, and many of them require a lot of support. And the reality is, Carol's been doing it for over 20 years. It is possible. People who go through it, their lives change, and their lives change for the better. And I love what Jackie was saying, which is that a lot of people who are in segregated services, they are so fearful of what it will look like to be in integrated services. And the reality is when people go through this, their eyes are opened that there are some really good people, and with proper supports, people can be successful and very, very happy in their lives. Again, I'd like to thank this entire panel. We're now at lunch. If you are continuing with the transition strand after lunch, all of the transition strand sessions are within this room. I would encourage, in addition to eating lunch, that there is the room of Mind Institute community programs that you can go in and see some of the programs that the Mind Institute is involved in, including the Business Advisor Council that Carol's office is part of.
The UC Davis Mind Institute was created in 1998 with a promise to find cures for neurodevelopmental disorders. Every day, our physicians and researchers come closer to fulfilling that promise. Their groundbreaking research on autism, Fragile X syndrome, chromosome 22q11.2 deletion syndrome, ADHD, and other brain disorders are helping children achieve their fullest potential. Please visit our website to find out more about current studies, upcoming events, and how you can help make a difference.